Good day, great day, grand day to you all. Thank you for joining us on another segment of a spiritual discussion with Dr. TSA series. My name is Dr. Terry Ordate, and we are here today with Jonathan. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you, Dr. Terry.
Yeah, nice. Likewise.
So, I have a few questions for you today. Thank you for having me over. So, something I've been encountering is what is the concept of self-talk, and how does that affect your self-image?
Great question. So there are several different kinds of self-talk. The one that I'm going to highlight today, and let me know if that's the one that you're speaking of, is the self-negative talk.
Correct.
And so negative self-talk, let me ask you something and let me put it in context, right? When one is operating in their highest, most developed sense of self, right? Would you purposely sabotage yourself? Would you purposely throw pies at your face, knock your head against the wall, brutalize yourself on purpose?
Most definitely not. But why does it seem so natural to do this?
Okay. It seems natural because you've taken on the identity of the negative self-talk. You have assumed the identity that self-talk is yours. And it's not. For one to experience negative self-talk means that we're entertaining a negative energy. In order for this negative energy to be so successful, the energy has to almost mimic your energy so that you don't suspect that it's not yours. And this is a topic that I can go so far in, because oftentimes I will explain this situation or how would I say, preference your question by saying that this is a battle between light and dark. And we in battle with energies, not people. We as people are used to express these energies. Your spirit is an energy. Negative energy is an energy. Negative self-talk is an energy. And so when one experiences negative self-talk, they've taken on an identity of this type of energy and assumed it as their own. And it's not. But because the negative self-talk is constant and constant and constant, we think that it's ours, but it's not. When you begin to take on or understand that you are a spiritual being in this physical body, and in your essence there's pure love and peace and joy, anything foreign from that, anything different from that, you will begin to raise an eyebrow. But because you've accepted that negative self-talk, you've almost developed yourself or remodulated your energy to fit this negative self-talk. And so because of that, and this is all done subconsciously,
right?
Because of that, that gives the negative self-talk permission to continue, because you've accepted it as yours, forgetting that you're a spirit being operating in a physical body. Once we keep that identification that we are spirit beings operating on this physical plane, and within our essence, within our great sense of self that is developed with joy, peace, and love, anything foreign from that, you will have the border up. I don't know if you saw the one of the segments where I talked about the mental border and protecting that mental border. Once you protect that mental border, any foreigners coming through or anybody that is not of your country, right? This country of Jonathan's body, any energy that comes your way, you're going to be heightened to the fact that, This is not my energy. This is a foreign energy. So I don't know if that kind of helped you a little bit.
Well, yes, it did, because it's connected to the second aspect of my question, which is self-image, right? So when we have these impulsive, repetitive, negative self-talk that we entertain, it shifts the idea of how we see ourselves. What's our self-image? What do I feel like I deserve? Do I deserve love? Do I deserve happiness? Do I deserve success? So how does one start working against that?
My question to that, and I'll respond first to your question with a question. How was that self-image developed?
From the self-talk, from the first question.
Okay, so I'll take it even further. That self-image was developed not only by your self-talk, but it was also developed by those influences that you had in your life that caused the separation of your true identity of self and taking it somewhere else.
Right.
And there can be many, in society, right? It could be television, it could be our friends, it could be family, it could be our school, it could be our organizations that we are partners of, or organizations that we are part of. Any one of those assets and other aspects could have taken you away from the true sense of who you are, which is the self-image of being a spiritual being having a physical experience. So when you ask me that question about self-image, how do you work against, or how do you protect or build back that self-image? You can't build it in isolation and not consider your higher self, not consider your spirit self. If you're trying to rebuild a redefined image of who you are that is positive, that is healthy, that is of light and love, then it has to be in the context of your spirit, not of what you think you should be. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%. My last question before I leave you. So, what has this experience been like as a professional, helping people through the process of learning to connect to their emotion? As a man, I grew up in a household where my mother and father didn't emote or express or connect, especially for men. One of the normalities of being a man is you don't connect to your emotions. What's been that process like for you, helping for people in my gender back to connecting to themselves?
Great question. I love this question. The way I can respond to that question is, I'm not going to say your age right now, but however old you are, let's just say you are 30 years old, right? And if you're 30 years old, how I would ask you then, it took you 30 years to build and be the person that you are today.
Right.
Right?
So I worked for it.
You worked for it. You worked 30 years to become the man that you are today. This work, this journey is about bulldozing 30 years of a self-image that was deprecating to you. Now, I'm not saying that it will take you 30 years to redefine who you are with your spirit's perspective. All I'm saying is it's not overnight. It's not going to take a week. It's not going to take a month. This is a journey to rediscovering yourself. There is no destination whatsoever. And so I've worked with people for years who are constantly embarking on this journey, discovering new aspects about themselves. But before the discovery, there's this level of a dismantling that takes place. The dismantling of different concepts of who they thought they were based on different experiences, based on challenges, based on traumas, based on disagreements, based on confusion. And so there's this process of a demolition that happens first before walking into or totally accepting the fact that they are a spiritual being first having this experience on this planet or on this plane. And so one thing that comes to mind when you ask, another aspect that comes to mind when you ask that question is because men have this bravado, and this is a very loose comment, right? I'm not saying every man has this persona, but just speaking to your question, a large majority of our men in society feels like they have to be strong, and there's this ego part of them that, you know, is not supposed to emote or whatever the case may be. When men come to me, they come to me with the understanding that this journey is not going to be easy. And I explain that very early on. Then there's a process of helping the man to feel safe within that space. There's not one man on this planet that I've ever worked with that did not require that first. The feeling that in that therapeutic session, that their emotions, that their essence, that they are safe in that environment, in that space. And when that safetiness, or when that safety has been established, only then can men be vulnerable enough, because they trust that space and they trust me as the mediator in that space to usher them through that process. So that's a very specific skill, an important factor for me when I'm working with men and for men, because otherwise nothing is going to come out. Because again, there's this bravado, this sense of, you know, I'm a man and I'm not supposed to emote, right? There are layers of layers that I have to kind of help break down in order for that man to be safe in that context and be able to spill the beans, for a lack of a better term.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment. Thank you for having me today. And to your last point, I'm currently in this process myself, and it is definitely a journey. No matter how old or young you are, you have to break these walls down. And there's a lot of environmental effects that plays a role. So going back to self-talk, you really have to fight against them. And to get to this space where you can allow yourself to be free, and having people who are committed to the cause to help us be safe and to get to that space. So on behalf of all men, I thank her.
On behalf of what? Say that again.
On behalf of all men that are looking to be a person, to connect to this universe, to feel, to connect with our loved ones, kids, wives, friends, daughters. We struggle with this, and finding the right space is very important for us to get there. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Well, there you have it. Another segment of Dr. TSA series, a spiritual discussion. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, you are loved. Namaste.
I guess.